Salam, what up, though? What's puffin', my niggas? Get out, get grounded, get melanated. I want to kind of share and go over some of the finds that I have been curious about with the calendar system. Hold on 1 second. Sorry. Other than the Gregorian and Baruch Yahuwah, the Julian Kairos time period. You know how it says in the book of Daniel, they think to change laws and times and so on and so forth, and that's part of confusing our people, not knowing what's going on, and confusing prophecy to make up fake prophecies. Though there are projects and all this other type of stuff. So, long story short, excuse me. It's also related to Psalm 83 and confusing the languages and the tribes and so on and so forth. So if you go back and watch the series that we started with royal people, this will be related to that. It's part, I don't know, 5, 6, whatever, but this will be in there. And this one, the 12-day, or not 12-day, 28-day calendar system, 13-month cycle. Each month equals 28 days exactly. 28 x 13 months, or times 13 months, equals 364 days. One optional reset day outside the year cycle or included in month 13, each week, 7 days exactly. Week structure repeats every month. 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, 4 day, 5 day, 6 day, 7 day. In the Bible, it says the second day, third day. It doesn't say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and all that type of stuff. It doesn't say that at all. So, day 1, start flow. Day 2, build flow. Day 3, work flow. Day 4, mid flow. Day 4, expansion. Day 6, reflection. Day 7, rest, reset. Alright? 13 months. First month of awakening, beginning, energy, vision, setting, planning goals. Second month of growth, building habits, training, strengthening systems. Third month, fire, forage. Hard work, discipline, breakthroughs. Fourth month of flow, adaptation, creativity, Baruch, emotional alignment. Fifth month of winds, change, movement, travel, shifting paths. Sixth month of foundation, stability, home, family, structure, building. 7th month of solar peak, power, visibility of Yahuwah, leadership, success, and push. All obviously leading back to the Most High Yaku. Huna. Alright, 9th month of bloom, creativity, art, relationships, expansion. 10th month of trial, testing, limits, struggle, refinement. 11th month of vision, future planning, strategy, expansion of mind. 12th month of stillness, rest, integration, endings, completion. 13th month, the reset cycle. Month of 13 of return, 13th month. Outside normal structure or end cycle month used for resetting goals, spiritual alignment, reverting to an entire year, or reviewing, the entire year, cleansing and old cycles, preparing next year. Sorry about that glitch. You can treat it like 0 month, mirror month, time between time. I want to say this. We have hints in the Bible and so on and so forth where it talks about pretty much when it was spring is when the new year began. So anywhere from March and April 1st would be the beginning of spring. Some thoughts about something I heard a while back, how April Fools comes into play, and in spring and so on and so forth. What if the first day of what we call April is the first day of spring? Right? Or just March. So I'm not playing, kind of listening for that, hearing for that an affirmation, because I tended to lean towards March. When you start seeing things bloom and stuff like that, that's when the spring has come. And if you're in tune with Yah and Mother Nature, you'll know it. So yeah, there's that. It also said in the Bible an evening, without morning actually, but it's the evening and the morning were the first day. So it sounds like in there the day begins in the evening, and we would be in the second part of the day, because it said there's 24 hours in a day, so that's a full cycle day, where the day begins in the evening, the stillness, right, the still hours, and then you got the dawn of the day, or the second part of the day, which is where the sun is up, so on and so forth. So yeah, there's that. The moon is supposed to represent the feminine. The sun is supposed to represent the masculine. However, I think they both represent both. So yeah. So what I was doing was plugging in. Now with this model, I need you to make up the 13th month with the number of days that they're missing. So from 29 to 30 to 31, that would normally be within the months of January and December. That's how I want you to create the 13th month for those missing days, and show me what that would look like. How many days for the 13th month? I asked it like this because I wanted to, one, I had some things in mind, and I wanted to affirm some things that had came to mind. Thanks be to Yah. But anyway, it says good. Now you're basically turning the 13th month into a collected overflow month that absorbs uh, every day beyond 28 from the standard Gregorian system. Let's map it clearly. So you see how it goes beyond the Gregorian system, right? Because this is returning to the ancient past and returning to our actual calendrical system, right? Step one, base system compassion. Your base calendar rule: 1 month equals 28 days, 12 months equals 336 days total, right? Okay, so real Earth year, 365 days normal year, 366 days each leap year. All right. Now, when you think about the moon and the moon's cycles, right, the cycles of the moon, and you put it in a 28-day calendrical cycle, or the cycles of the women, so on and so forth, you see a lot, right? Step two, where the extra days go. We take each Gregorian month and subtract 28 days. The remainder gets collected into month 13. So January has 31, extra over day, or 3 days over 28, right? March has 3 days over 28. April has 2 days over 28. May has 3 days over 28. June has 2 days over 28. July has 3 days over 28. August has 3 days over 28. September has 2 days over 28. October has 3 days over 28. November has 2 days over 28, and December has 3 days over 28. So total extra days is a non leap year. 3 plus 0 plus 3 plus 2 plus 3 plus 2 plus 3 plus 3 plus 2 plus 3 plus 2 plus 3 equals 29 days. All right, the result of the 13th month 13 overflow month, length 29 days, total normal year. In a leap year, February adds 1 extra day, so month 13 becomes 30 days total each leap year. So all those other numbers of extra days over 28, that's where you find the missing month, right? And the extra day in the year, that's where you get 30 days, right? So final structure, year system, 1 to 12 months, fixed 28-day cycles. Month 13 collects all leftover extra reality days. Normal year, 12 times 28 is 336 days. Month 13 equals 29 days. Total 365 days. In leap year, 13 months equals 30 days. The 13 month. And total is 366 days. Simple way to understand it, months 1 through 12 are pure rhythm time. 13th month is reality. Ooh, 30 here. Connection time. New pay. Absorbs irregular. Baruch move to calendar. Baruch move to Baruch spacing. Resets seasonal drift. Acts like a buffer between cycles. So if you think it like a video buffering, the time between that, kind of like that in analogy. If you want next level expansion, I can name all 29 to 30 days inside month 13, each with meaning. Turn month 13 into a blah blah blah, build it into a. All right. Then I said I want every name of the months touching the Maya pre-colonial months, names of the months, but I want you to mix it with or merge it with the okay. Maya Hab, month, roots, sound, so on and so forth. 13-month hybrid calendar. But I won't do that. I don't know why Nicole comes up to my mind right now. Now I said, now find me a way to see the 8th day, or create the 8th day of the week with this calendar, because normally there's 7 days of the week, but with this calendar, it opens up the opportunity for an actual 8th day of the week. So show me where that would be spotted and give that to me. So pretty much what I'm doing is I'm trying to get it to show me how that would actually mirror the reality of there being 13 months and 8 days that has been suppressed and hidden from us for a long time. So I have to go around its programming to get what is needed, long story short. He said, good, this is where your system starts becoming a dual layer time structure, not just a calendar. To make an 8th day of the week work without breaking your 28th day month. You don't force it into the count, you make it hidden. A hidden bridge day that exists outside the 28th day grid but activates between cycles. And something that just came to mind, you know how they talk about daylight savings? Where it's like, dang, where did the time go? That's a reset. It's a reset, but it's also like a pause in time, right? It's a buffering for getting ready for a continuation, right? Uh, um, to continue going to uh, um, the next cycle, if you will. Um, uh, anyway, if that makes sense. That's the cleanest way to keep both systems stable. Core fix how an eighth day can exist. You keep 7 visible days, normal flow, 28-day month, perfect math, 4 multiplied by 7. You add one hidden eighth day, cycle bridge, dimension reset, day or so. The eighth day does not add to the month count. It exists between day 7 and day 1 of the next week. It's a rest period. It's a rest point, transition point. Thank you, that's what I was looking for. Week structure, new model. Standard 7-day cycle, visible time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Eighth day, new layer. The energy cycle boundary shift. 8. Embodiment, realignment, flow. Right? What the eighth day actually is. In function, the eighth day is a time reset buffer, memory consolidation point. Emotional, um, physical, recalibration, transition gate between weeks. It is not part of a counting time. It is part of time correction. Where it appears in your calendar, every week looks like this. Visible week, 7 days, 1 through 7. Then the hidden day, the 8th day, the visible flow. Why this works with your 28-day month. A 28-day month stays intact because 4 weeks equals 7 days. Or not that. 4 weeks multiplied by 7 days equals 28 visible days, my bad. The 8th day exists outside numbering. So mathematically, 28 numbered days, 4 hidden 8th day transitions, 32 experimental time events, but not counted days. When we think about daylight savings is a saving of time, and it's a shift of time because it gets darker earlier, or the sun stays up out longer. So it makes sense from spring going into summer where it start getting dark in certain parts of the world. Um, let's say North America, around 8 something, sometimes 9, right, p.m. And sometimes you'd have the sun coming up at like 5 or something, right? Okay, and then during autumn and winter time, you'd have it start getting dark at like 4:30 and 5 o'clock. See what I'm saying? Um, and we're in autumn now, so 2026 of this day, the 7th day, right? So we're, let's say, March or April, May, June, July, August. So it'd be, if we did April, May, June, July, August, it would be the 5th month. If it's March, so March, April, May, June, July, August, it would be the 6th month. You see what I'm saying? And then you go from there. Um, August, September, October, November, December, 13th month. And then January, February, March, April, May, June. That's crazy. Hold on, pay attention real quick. So if we did from March, Hallelujah, March, first month, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February, April, January, February, March. Third month, right? January, February, March. Third month, right? Okay. So first month, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March. Third month, right? Okay. So third month. So April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April. So somewhere in that, during the first one, you can kind of see what's going on. I'm gonna play with that a little bit more. Um, that's why. Okay. So April, April. My math was messed up. I didn't count the 13 months. April. Let me pick. April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January. 13th month. Wait. Pause. April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. 13th month. January, February, April. January, February, March. So March it still goes into the third month. Starting from April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. 13th month. January, February, March. Okay. So March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. 13th month. January, February, March. So March automatically goes back into the third month. Either way you put that. April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. 13th month. January, February, March. April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. 13th month. January, February, March. April. So 1 and 4 is 5. So if you do it April 1st, April Fools, then you go throughout the calendar. If you do it March 1st, it would be 4. But either way, March always is like the third month, it seems to be. Um, so March, somewhere in between, somewhere in March and April. Um, we'll do some more about that, but something came to mind on that. So what this creates is important. You now have 2 layers of time. One linear time counted, 28-day structure, 13-month system, predictable rhythm. Living time experienced, 8th day not counted. Used for reflection, shift, reset, and awareness. Optional expansion matches your 13th month system. Month 13, 8th day become fully active. Used for your memory review, timeline correction, and intentions resetting. Final summary: 7-day week equals structured time you live in. 8th day, a bridge, time you move through. Name of the 8th day, and the gate between cycles. Now, when you know how they how they say be the Lion's Gate portal, or equinox, and solstice, whoo, put that into play, right? Portal day, a shift day. Doesn't the moon go through portals? Doesn't the sun go through portals? It does go through portals. That's why when the sun goes down and you don't see it so-called on one side of the earth, you see it somewhere else. It's daytime somewhere else, right? Keeping in mind how they also construct time zones throughout the world, so it could be uh, Egypt time somewhere else is, I think it's like, or Africa somewhere is like 6 hours ahead of us, and so on and so forth. But they do that to confuse the times, changing times and days, times and laws. The laws that they changed was the Torah, the law of the prophets, okay, through the Dallas-Rose Commission, Doctrine of Discovery, Papal Bulls, Tignon laws, and so on and so forth, right? Modern day corruptions of this, that, and the third, and then giving you feast days that are based off of genocide and Holocaust and invasion and conquest. You see what I'm saying? So them, you operating through numerology, doing certain things that they know are wrong and corrupted, you know what I'm saying? Then they you see how they try to use time in a sorcerous, wicked way. It's not right. You know what I'm saying? Or playing with prophecy, if you will, and uh, propaganda and MK Ultra psyops and so on and so forth. And history, in other words, because if you add 1,000 days extra onto the calendars, which is Gregorian and Julian Kairos, which is time, right? In their calendars, which takes away from our original calendars and feast days and times for our family and stuff like that, right? For feast days and celebrations of the Most High Yah and prophecy, so on and so forth. Okay, it also says in the Bible somewhere a day is as 1,000 years to God. You know what I'm saying? And when you sit and put back into perspective, is God Gad, the tribe of Gad? You know what I'm saying? Or so on and so forth. That's just a little nugget, if you will. But that's where you can see playing with time, playing with prophecies, changing history, fabricating artifacts, and changing things and so on and so forth, and kind of like putting people in a zombie state, you know what I'm saying, where it's like, whoa, what's going on, or a coma. Because when people have been, I've been in a coma before. When being in a coma is like, you wonder, are you still in there at some times when you're out of it? Because things get to a point where it feels so strange. It messes with your memory. It messes with your cognitivity, right? It messes with your thoughts and your emotions and your growth in some ways. So there's all that to consider or review. So yeah. So I said, so for example, it will be period before activity starts up next, right? So that's like the bridge point, the portal point, right? It says, yes, you're basically got the right idea, but let's tighten the concept so it becomes a system accurate instead of just symbolic. Keynote: your question reframed clearly. Is the 8th day a period before activity starts again? Answer: yes, but more precisely, it is a transition buffer between cycles, not a dead day. There you go. Day of the living alive activated. What the 8th day really is in your system. 7 day cycle, active time. This is where time or life This is where life moves, actions happen. Here's structure, work, rhythm, expansion. The eighth day, bridge time. This is the pause between one cycle ending uh, and the next cycle beginning. Simple way to understand it, think of it like this: 7 days, breathing and motion. The eighth day, the gap between breaths. So yes, kind of like the gap theory. It comes before the next day cycle. That's starts. It's coming before the next day activity cycle starts again, but it is not before in a countdown sense. It is between cycles. What actually happens in the eighth day, instead of the normal activity, it functions like a reset phase, right? Clearing mental, emotional load, finishing unfinished energy. Kind of like 2025 and 2026, year 10. End of the old cycle, 0. Aku's Dr. Rowe. And the year 1 is a new beginning. So if we took 1,000 years off, right, and we say this is 2026, it would be 1026. Year 1026. In reverse, it would be 6,201. If we had year 1000, we took that off, right? Plus you took off your, the both 2,000 years. Long story short, it would be 026 or year 620. Okay, cycle 26. Fifth world. And you look at the things that's going on in the earth, like Leviathan being spotted in Venezuela, so on and so forth. All the Nagas, the dragons waking up, right? All the Ring of Fire going off, all the volcanoes and earthquakes, other than their earthquake machines and CERN and shit and fucking around with the weather and stuff like that, HARP and DARPA, and so on and so forth. But there's things that are of the Most High, there's things that are not of the Most High, right? So this goes into the signs and miracles in the book of Revelation, so on and so forth, and so on and so forth, right? The sign of the blue star Kachina, which I think was in 2023, the sign of the Naga constellation, Draca, right? Or Draco, the dragon. Duragan Samurai. I receive and respect Yahuwah, which is the sign that they tried to hide in 2023, through the chemtrails and shit like that while that eclipse was going. And then you got all these other alignments and stuff and blood moons, which are supposed to be signs and stuff like that too. And I think between last year and this year, we had 2 alignments dealing with solstice and equinox in the same year, as well as a blood moon and eclipse, right? So that is a lot going on in a space of 20, 23, 24, 25, 26, 3 years, if you will, right? Memory integration, reviewing what just happened in the 7th-day cycle, locking in lessons, so meditation, long story short, alignment, preparing intention for next week, recalibrating direction, shadow work, healing the inner child, still point, low action or non-linear time, reflection over execution. How it connects to your week loop without 8-day, week repeats like a machine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. With 8-day, you now have a hinge point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, then 1. The hinge is what gives the system awareness instead of autopilot. But they talk about artificial intelligence and awareness, right? Final clarity. It is before next activity starts. Yes, functionally, it sits right before the next day's cycle begins. But more accurate definition, it is not before time starts again. It is the space where the previous cycle, halal I am pay, the cycle ends and the next time one is prepared. Another thing that just came to mind, if you think about Shabbat, which they say is Saturday, right? And if you day of rest from Friday going into the seventh day, and for some reason, I don't know if you ever felt that it was like Sunday coming, you still feel like, or you wonder like, is today still Saturday? Or you get your days confused, you don't know what day it is. Maybe this has something related to that. I don't know. In the bridge state point, or feeling like it's still part of the rest day, right? Because technically Sunday is supposed to represent the first day. It's a work day because the Catholic Church, um, the Portuguese and Spanish, the Vatican, they changed the rest day from Shabbat to Sunday, okay, which was to honor the Pope, to venerate the Pope and Serapis or Seraphim, right? Um, in other words, Constantine, Caesar Borgia, and Azazel, if you will, or sun deity, if you will, so on and so forth. One of the most idolatrous systems, turning a rest day into a human sacrifice day, and remembering human sacrifices. And they are the main ones that have in the past slaughtered many people. You know what I'm saying? Many of the Most High's people, and taking the houses of the Most High Yah in possession for themselves. The lands, pyramids, or mounds, and so on and so forth. Valleys, jungles, you know what I'm saying? The Discovery Act, the deforestation programs, and so on and so forth. And giving our heritage at that time to other people. Now we're receiving it and and it's being restored to us, right? And seeking the ways of the Most High Yah and returning to the Most High. So you can see a lot of different pinpoints that comes into this. And I said, it made sense, like in the body where it talks about there was or in the Bible, it talks about there was a silence in the Shamaim, and then a silence that was around about the space of a half an hour. Does this kind of make sense in how this is put in this model, in that analogy of relation? Then he said, yes. Um, a pause, a silence, a gap before a response, and then a reset moment in awareness. They're pointing to something real in perception. The nervous, this goes into the body, but I meant the Bible. But he went into the body. The nervous system, aligned with Yahuwah, does not experience life as continuous motion. It processes it in cycles with micro pauses. Even in psychology, breathing has a pause between inhale and exhale. Neurons fire then reset. Attention pulses rather than flow smoothly. So your silence before the next hour of awareness activity idea is basically a transition buffer in perception. How this maps into your calendar system, your system is doing the same thing, just a larger scale. 7-day week, active experience cycle, like this. This is like the doing state, conscious action, and structured point. 8th day, neurosilence, reset, and gap. This matches your analogy directly. The silence between cycles where the system is not producing output but recognizing or reorganizing itself. It is not empty. It is integration, recalibration, Baruch Yahuwah, internal alignment before the next hour, day, week of activity. Now, I was going into the Bible where it talks about they heard a silence in heaven for a space of a half hour, so on and so forth. And I'll plug that in here at some point. Your exact analogy in calendar terms, what you describe translates like this: body level, silence, awareness, resets. Next perception, cycle forms. And it's kind of like the endocannabinoid system too, which regulates every other system of the body. And when it's overstimulated, it self-regulates itself and resets. and it regulates every other system of the body. Important insight. Um, the key thing you're noticing is conscious systems don't transition instantly; they phase, right? So instead of into one instant jump, your system becomes 7, pause, 1. That pause is what makes it feel alive instead of mechanical. Simple way to hold it, think of it like this: day 1 through 7, heartbeats. 8th day, gap between heartbeats, where rhythm resets. So kind of like a heart murmur. Um, Without the gap, rhythm becomes, thank you, Yah, rigid. With the gap, rhythm becomes living. Final clarity? Yes, your analogy is valid and actually stronger than it first sounds. The 8th day, Hu Baruki Hua, is the silence field that allows the next cycle of time to form clearly, just like awareness resets before no perception arises. Um, Good. This is where your system becomes coherent across scales: micro body, macro week, month, macro year. The key insight is you're describing the same mechanism repeating at different sizes. All right. I'm not cursing the sun. Leave me alone. Return to the center. Fucking hope for this shit. Hey. All right. Baruch the sun. Um. So micro level, the body, seconds and minutes. We're noticing there is always a silent gap in perception between cycles of awareness. So breath in, pause, breath out, thought pause, next thought. Stimulus, processing response. God dang it. So even neurons don't fire continuous. They fire in pulses that with reset gaps. The silence is where the system recognizes before the next experience forms. This is your principle in biological form. Micro model name, blah blah blah. Action pause, next action, awareness, reset awareness, input, integration, output. This is not emptiness, it is processing space. Please help me. Meso level, week plus month system. Now your calendar is the same pattern, scaled up. And 7-day week, active cycle, structured life rhythm, doing building, engaging. 8th day, transitioning and gap. This is no new task identity, no forward push integration of the last 7-day cycle. Function, what just happened, settles before the next cycle begins. uh, World events. Month level, 28 days. Your system, 4 weeks. 7 days, 28 equals 4 weeks plus 7 days equals 28 days. But now, after each 7-day cycle, the 8th day happens. So within a month, 4 active cycles, 4 micro resets. Meaning each month is not one block. It is 4 breathing cycles stacked together. Macro level, 13-month system. Now scale the same principle again. 12 months. Structured life arc. Identity building, seasonal progression, growth, struggle, completion. 13th month, 0 month. This is the global 8th day. What the 13th month really is, it is not just extra days. It is the silent fill between one full year identity and the next. Functions of the 13th month: one full year memory integration, worked, uh, see what broke and what patterns repeat. The identity reset: who you were dissolves silently, next version forms. So basically, what it's trying to explain is like how we begin to ascend in awareness, right? Consciousness, spirituality. We're transformed every day. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. The renewing of our mind is where the salvation of Yahuwah comes in, because we're being saved from patterns and thoughts that are broken. They're not tuning us or keeping us in tune, in frequency, in sync with nature, his character, Baruch. You know what I'm saying? That's Madu nature. Observing creation around us and seeing how it operates, and how you look at certain animals, like, okay, or every animal. The only time the animals work is when they're hunting or when they're building their houses. Mankind and the kinds of mankind are the only ones that seem to not know when to rest. The only ones that seem to not know when to not work. You know what I'm saying? And part of that behavioral analysis is when you sit and you look up, how does that affect our moods and our emotions, right? How does that affect our thought patterns? Look at what we do with trash. Look at what we do with food. What are we eating? How are we eating, right? And a lot of that has to do with the chemical imbalance, hormone imbalance, right? Not enough melatonin and serotonin, right? Serotonin or let's start melatonin. Melatonin deals with your rest. Okay, shalom. Serotonin is for hormones. I might have that wrong. Melatonin calms you down, helps you rest, go through sleep patterns, so on and so forth, or cycles, as they say. Pay attention to those words. And our focus. And then the serotonin, hormones, emotions, which all is part of cognitivity, right? Cognizance, awareness, right? Situational awareness. Hala Yahuwah. The regulation of these things, also, which goes into decalcifying the pineal gland, or the eye of Ra, or the Haru, right? Your pineal gland, your spiritual eye, right? Which also is a perception point. How do we see these things? How do we view these things, right? How are we able to receive and reason? You know what I'm saying? Clairvoyance, sight, right? And this goes into communication, all right? This goes into balance, equilibrium, Enuk, Yahweh, okay? So this is also goes into your health. This goes into your parasympathetic, parasynthetism, whatever. This has everything to do with your receptors, right? So let's say marijuana, CB1, CB2 receptors, right? Then, or the parasympathetic nervous system. That's what I was trying to think of. So microbiology of the Kamatz tree, the world tree, right? Your nervous system is like a grid. How you doing? If you have bad nerves, you're going to be sporadic shocks, right? Glitches, right? It's gonna be painful. There has to be an alignment in that electrical grid, which is why we'll eat electrical foods, energy foods that come from the sun, right? Are grown through the Most High Yah, projecting through the sun what's needed: warmth, light, energy, nutrition, right? To be nourished. And then you have your elements of that would be what, fire, light, right? Activism, activator. Then you have water. Then you have earth. Water brings certain minerals and nourishment to help expand and growth and soften up, so it has room to blossom, to bloom and blossom. You know what I'm saying? The earth is the vessel, the holding place, right? The water as a fluidity will bring waves or soften up the shell of the seed and help take away certain things. And whatever the water doesn't do, that's what the earth does. That's why the seeds grow up, or they grow out the ground the way that they do, because they got to work themselves through different minerals, right? Which is also where you get a lot of nutrition and stuff like that too. If the body needs about 90% of certain minerals that you find in sea moss, right, and in kelp, um, which is literally plants that grow in the water that is filled with minerals. And there's so many different elements that aid in that mineral enrichment, right, for growth, right? And some people have a glow to their body, right? That's because it shows a nutritional nourishment. Where there's a lack of glow is a lack of nourishment. It's a malnourishment, right? A lot of people are malnourished in their thinking, in their mind, in receptivity of receiving knowledge or right knowledge, right? The ability to have the capacity to retain it, to hold it, right? To be able to flow in it or for it to flow in them. And that is a problem, because that's where you get all these extra crazy mood swings and anger and frustration. But it has everything to do with your environment. It has everything to do with what you're receiving, what you're taking in, whether through song, whether through words, whether through environments, whether through elements. That's basic psionics, okay? That is frequency. That is energy, right? O man, know thyself, right? Let thy food be thy medicine be thy food, right? So when we're speaking many different relations and connections, shamanism, so on and so forth, these are elements that are needed. Okay? Without how would you say it, a plain interpretation, to the point where literally a child can be able to see these things for what they are and let it be easily received. You know what I'm saying? Other than that, you just got fucking confusion. You got shit that doesn't make sense, and people get to the point where they're like, fuck it, we'll just go with it. No, that's dumb. That's like accepting and settling for dumb shit and eating trash all the time that does nothing for you. Then when you look at a bunch of people who are either malnourished in their body or bloated because of parasites, and then wondering what the fuck is going on, you know what I'm saying? Because you're not looking at nature, right? Those of us who are electric blood, right, or electric DNA, Kundalini, the electronaga, okay, electrolyte, right, the elect. right? No Zeus, none of that. You know what I'm saying? Well, we also have chlorophyll, right? Which makes the plants green, and so on and so forth, right? Which also gives them their nutritional, visual nutritional value, right? So eating plenty of greens and what the greens do for your body, for your blood, right? You don't need so much iron. You need more copper than you need iron in your blood. Copper will also help fight against parasites. Parasites is what cancer is. Parasites is what deals with a suppressed immune system. Parasites is where you get degenerate bone disease from. Okay? That's where the cartilage of your bones begins to soften and break down, because that's where the hardness of the bone come from. When you have parasites and then you have an overwhelming amount of heavy metals, right, and or fluoride, this is where your bones literally become as like limestone. Okay, you have to deal with your plasma, which your plasma is needed to be inside of your bones. It's what helps give it nutrition. It's like doing a car engine oil check or changing the oil in the car. Okay, how you notice how they be like, oh, the car is, you know, the body's like a machine, this, that, and the third. It has to be oiled right. The wiring has to be right. You need spark plugs, right? You need capacitors, and you need the transformers, right? You need the engine, right? You need the batteries. You know what I'm saying? And all the wiring to that computer is how can I move to. How about Yahoo? Everything. In order for all these different things to work, okay? If you don't get the oil and the things flushed the proper way, the car starts to break down. It starts to sound certain ways, right? You can start feeling it in the movement of the car. You look at people who are limping all the time. Why are they limping? You look at people who could barely walk. Are they swelling? Why are they barely able to walk? Why are they swelling? See what I'm saying? You look at people who are like, what the fuck is wrong with your anatomy, right? Your body. You know what I'm saying? And the chemistry or the autonomy of why it's moving in certain ways, or why it's so on and so forth, or why it's not, whatever. And the chemistry, which is the experience, right? What it does, the what's happening because of it. You know what I'm saying? The experience, basically. You know what I'm saying? How did it make you think? How did it make you feel? Why are you meditating on this? You know what I'm saying? The environment has everything to do with that. If you're playing shit that's always kill, death, all this bullshit, you're going to start to think like that. Because it's a psionic frequency that has adapted to whatever emotions that you're going through and has not properly reset because you're listening to the same garbage. And that's one reason why you put a lot of that same garbage in your body when it comes to food and drink. Battery acid, in other words, for example, Coke and Pepsi. Drink too much of that or soak a car battery into that and see what the fuck that does to the battery. Erosion, right? That is a corruption. Poor eruption, right? Too much acid, which also causes pain, inflammation, pain because of acidity, right? So, too much grease buildup, if you will, fat, is where a parasite would thrive because there's so much fat, right? So the fat itself doesn't hurt unless there's a lot of acid buildup in it. Think of like a zit. Okay? It swells and swells and swells until it pops. And then what we call pus, which is actually mucus, the acidic mucus, which comes out and it's being cleansed, it's being purged out. The toxins are being purged out, it's being pushed out. That's why they push and squeeze and they pull it out. Okay? And then you have to use some type of cleansing agent, alcohol, hydrogen peroxide, which flushes out the rest of the toxins, especially with hydrogen peroxide, which is why it flows out in bubbles and stuff, because it's cleansing out the extra stuff that doesn't need to be there. It's getting a deeper cleanse. Okay. Same thing with a mosquito bite, itching until you put like some witch hazel, or alcohol, right? Same thing with energy. You have to have a certain mineral count, right? Certain amount of salt, manganese, magnesium. Okay. Our bodies do need certain traces of gold and silver and or colloidal silver, but being mindful of what that does, the knowledge of what that does is necessary. If you don't know what the fuck you're putting in your body, you don't even know how to read the ingredients on a label. Why the fuck do you eat it and drink it just because it tastes good? You don't know what the fuck you're putting in your body. Simple synopsis of alchemy. Okay? So the quintessence of this is order. An order by design with purpose in mind. Okay? To function. That is how a body is a body. Okay? Everything has a purpose and to function in a certain purpose. Okay? That's what it's designed to do. And obviously that's well beyond us. So I know that's a lot, but that's what it kind of reminded me when it came to that type of stuff. So going back to this, where was that? Clean cycle release, emotional structural cleaning, unfinished cycles resolved, hallelujah, forced stillness before rebirth, and we're birthing who name. No forward pressure preparation field, right? Full fractal structure. This is the core: body, thought, silence, thought. Week, 7-day week. Then you got the 8-day month, 4-week integration pause, and then week 1 of next cycle. Year, 12 months to 13 months, and a new year. The big insight: all levels are doing the same thing. Life does not move in a line; it moves in cycles with reset gaps. Those gaps are what you're what you're naming. The 8th week level, or the week level, my bad, and the next month, year level, and silence between perception and body level. Funny thing about this is, Hala Yahuwah. You know how when people are speaking and people taking in knowledge, and how listeners and hearers, people who really are interested in learning, they're silent to be able to receive, and a lot of thoughts are still until something hits and pinpoints and be like, oh, it triggers a thought relation. Okay? A memory tap, right? A cognition awareness relation, right? If Einstein says, not him, and all our people, Einstein says imagination is greater than knowledge. I think they're one and the same. But you can have imagination and it goes so far, but you're still going to need the knowledge to make sense of the imagination or the vision. It enhances it, it further advances it, amplifies it, right? It allows for an overflow, right? Which is Baruch increase. So you need knowledge with imagination. So what you're thinking has a form, has a structure, and is able to go beyond what you originally imagined, which some things in imagination can be a split-second thing. It allows to see the meditation point. And when you're building, you can sit back and you can ponder, look at what has been built, and sit there, and now you have something to share beyond just oh, it started with this. People are like, all right, that's cool. But it doesn't make sense until people are actually experiencing it. See what I'm saying? That's knowledge. There comes the definition between wisdom. The experience is where the wisdom comes from. Experiencing that knowledge that was imagined, right? Through emotion and the desire to do something with that knowledge. Okay? That is the work in manifest movement. All right? Cool. So, example again, if you have sitting there thinking and talking about something, you stop talking and you don't have any thoughts coming in, the gap theory. The 8th day, the bridge, right? So there's different ways that you can relate through nature and the character of nature to this same model that shows something beyond just, oh, accept it because it sounds right. Is it easy to relate to other things? You see what I'm saying? It shouldn't be in competition. It should be a relation. Therefore, there's a rest in that. So, yeah. One clear, clean, Baruch Yahuwah definition of master form. Every cycle of existence. Wrong side? Nigga, people walk all over this mug on both sides. You, the biker, you gotta move around. What you mean wrong side? Make no sense. So, every cycle of existence requires a non... I can't believe some people, they be retarded. Talking about run side and you riding a bike. Nigga, it's a whole... You don't see how big this path is? People ride on this side. They ride in the middle. They ride on this side. People walking, going this way, on this side, and on this side. People are so melted, bro. She one of them who actually get angry because of shit like that. And it's like, nigga, you not see this big ass path right here? Dogs and people, skateboarders, bike riders, scooter riders, wheel riders, and all kind of shit. Shut the fuck up. Anyways, every cycle of existence requires Baruch Yahuwah Einu Peimu to a non-action interval where the system recognizes before continuation. Final summary, he says, yes, your analogy is correct. The silence in the body, the 8th day in the week, the 13th month in the year. Hala Yahuwah, Baruch Yahuwah. Are the same, or excuse me, are all the same mechanical mechanism expressed. Oh my God, anxiety needs to leave and confusion. Expressed in different scales. A structured pause that allows the next cycle of reality to form clearly. No lie. Alright, so I said, how can this be equated to year 1 and year 0 in the Mayan calculation calendrical system? Oh my God, Baruch Yahuwah. And he says this actually lines up really well with how Maya calendrical thinking works. Especially the idea, the idea that time is cyclical, layered, and reset through completion points, not a straight line. You okay? Yo. Are you there, Dad?
Yeah.
I was about to say, she ain't even fucking paying attention, bro. He said, I'll translate your year 0, year 1. year 0, year 1, plus 13th month, a Baruchu and a 8th day silence system into Maya calendar, into Maya calendrical logic. In a grounded way. How the Maya system thinks about year 0. In Maya time systems, especially the long count, time is counted in cycles: baktuns, katuns, tuns, yunals, and kin. In other words, kin, which is light, sun, Baruch. All right. Completion of a cycle equals reset point. The start of a new cycle is not just next number, it is a recreation of time. So, oh yeah. Am I gonna be able to see that like that? I said no. Sorry about the noise. The Maya don't treat end and beginning as separate. They are the same threshold. 0 in Maya logic, 0 is not nothing. 0 is completion state. It is the moment a cycle is fully integrated before restarting. So year 0 is better understood as the threshold of completion before a new calendrical identity forms. Your system mapping, this is, or he says your system mapping. This is the key bridge. You created a 7-day cycle, 8th day silence, 12 months, plus 13 reset month, and silence before next activity. Now map that into Maya logic, body level, thought cycle in, silence, and new thought. And in Maya equivalent, completion before new consciousness unit. Baruch week level, day 7 to day 1, or day 7 to day 8 to day 1. Maya equivalent cycle, closure, point, keen, reset, feeling. Allah Yahuwah. Year level, month 12 to 13th month to new year. Now, here is the direct mapping. Allah Yahuwah. Year 0 versus year 1 in your model. Year 0, Maya completion field. This is your 13-month. It represents full cycle digestion, identity dissolution of previous years, integration of everything that happened in 12 months. And Maya logic, this is equivalent to end of Baktun, Katun cycle, the closing of a world frame. So year 0 is not an empty year, it is space where the previous year collapses into memory. Hence, 2026. 6 plus 2, 8 plus 2, 9, 10. 1, 0. Hence, I turned 37 this year. 7 plus 3 is what? 10. That's another affirmation. All right? 2025 showed a completion of that cycle. So when we're doing it from the Maya calendar, which literally mirrors in our land of our laws and statutes and commandments and justice and systems and stuff like that, our true government, where the original indigenous native oriental population is the Maya. The Maya, which are Afro-Asiatic people, Asia Superior, all of Hindustan, right? And we have over 2,000 some odd pyramids, step pyramids alone, and then thousands of mounds as well. From North, Central, and South America, including Europe and Canada, as well as, Southeast or Southwest, of the Americas, which is also still part of Asia. We are Asia superior, so going down into where they say Japan and China and Korea is, that would be Asia Minor, right, which is still part of Asia. So we know before the Mongol invasions and the Dawes Rose Act and so on and so forth, and reclassifications of our names and our lands and stuff like that over fucking 15 different times, including uh, uh, how you say it, messing with geography and the ancient landmarks, changing them, which talks about that in the book of Daniel as well, or trying to remove the ancient landmarks, trying to erase us, long story short, and suppress us at the same time like we didn't exist. Um, we are Lemuria, Tartaria, Atlantia, Hyperborea, Arabian, Saracen, Sabian, the Rus, the Romani, um, Aryan. We are Henupe Haiti, Aztec, Azocan, Aztec. We be the original Hindus. You know what I'm saying? Hindustan. Like we are the original Druids, the original Celts, Iber, Hebrews, as they renamed us. You know what I'm saying? Israel, Misraim, Ethiopia, Kush, Egypt, Nubia, which Nubia, obvious before all those other names, which is still Egypt. It's still Ethiopia. Egypt will come to me in droves, and Ethiopia will soon reach out her hands to me. That's talking about Egypt. That's talking about Nubia. That's talking about Maya. That's talking about Aztec. That's speaking Lemuria, Sumeria, Atlantean, Tartarian, Hyperborean. Get the picture? Amerindians, Amorites, right? It's speaking about Sumerians. We are that. Okay? We are all those people. The melanated peoples, from red bone to copper colored Baruch, and deeper melanated, black matter, carbon. The altered carbon are those who lack melanin. Those are the mutants, right? Those are people with albinism, right? And the haplogroups and subhaplogroups, the clone races, and so on and so forth. If you look at the world fairs and so on and so forth, and Cabbage Patch Kids and cloning, you find these things in the book of Jasher and in the book of Enoch, which goes into Nephilim and hybrids and all kind of different shit. There's good, there's righteous and wicked of all kinds. You know, genetic mutations, and for example, you look at brown people or people with brown hair. That's a form of red. When you look at it in the light enough and long enough, you see red. Okay, and look at how many different colors of red there are. Brown is another color of red. You know what I'm saying? Hence, red bone, red skin, so on and so forth, right? Um, a form of melanin. Okay, black matter or black mother, ama, mama, mother, black mother, right? Melanated mother, carbonated mother, 6 protons, neurons, and electrons. There goes that electro, right? The light, king, the sun, Baruch, right? Light, let there be light. Y'all said let there be light, and here is light. Light is also representation of truth. Nura, Amunhotep. Um, Throwing away the lies for and the dis-ease, the struggle, the trouble, the traumas for rest, for shalom. Rest is also, it's in literally in the word shalom, stillness, which also relates to and is needed as a form of silence. Peace, be still. When you look at when the weather changes, sometimes before a tornado, everything gets what? Still. Like things just stop. And then everything goes haywire. That's why I don't find it very fictitious, because this really, like, obviously, hallelujah, obviously didn't come just from me. It came from the Most High. It represents full cycle digestion, identity, the dissolution of previous year, integration of everything that happened in 12 months. In Maya logic, it is equivalent to end of Baktun and Katun cycle, the closing of the world frame. So year 0 is not an empty year. It is a space where previous year goes away or collapses into memory. Remember what happened? Remember last year? So when people still trying to live in their past lives last year, yesterday, the day before. So in essence, we must be present but future present at the same time. Year 1, new creation field. This is your month 1. In Maya logic, this is the rebirth of counting time, not continuation, but reseated existence. So, you know how they be talking about, every day or Maya, or we would say, the sun goes down, we go into the underworld or preservation, or, this, that, and the third, or into mummification, preparing for the next day, mummification, Anubis, right? And then while traveling through the underworld for 12 hours, and then it comes up, and then the sun come back up again, and that's reborn, being reborn, the phoenix from the ashes, right? Among many other related esoteric symbologies of spirit reality of the spirit, and experiences of the spirit, right? Experience of the character of the nature that is constantly renewing, being renewed, right? Energy that is being transformed, it's being transitioned, right? It's being terraformed, and then things are being terraformed through it, you know. Hala Yahuwah. There is none. Sakum. Year 1, the first active expression after completion. Simple structure, year 0, completion and silence, integration, then integration and reset field, and then 13th month. The 13th month, year 1, new cycle begins, your month 1. Where your 8th day fits in Maya thinking, your 8th day is like a micro version of year 0. So the scaling looks like scale, active cycle, reset 0 field, day 1 or day 1 through 7, and 8th day, or pause and rest bridge between that transition. Year cycle inside month systems, 12 months, 13 months, long cycle, Maya logic, counted baktuns and years, and cycle completion 0 point. Important Maya insight that matches your model. In Maya thinking, time is not reset by breaking, it is reset by completion. So, year 0 is not before year 1. It is the completion condition that makes your year 1 possible, that matches your system exactly. So when you're thinking about, changing laws and times and so on and so forth, and observing the stars, the sun, and the moon, which represent times and seasons upon the earth, and so on and so forth. And then you got these Maya calendars and stuff like that, and resets, and what they say apocalypse. Well, the programming of what apocalypse is presented as now, or projected as, is nothing to do with anything other than the reality of fear-based programming and mind control of MK Ultra, where yes, the cycle is complete, and there are going to be there's going to be a cleansing in the earth, which some it is related to justice and judgment for whatever is done within that time period, right? If 9 is the end of a cycle, or completion of a cycle, then the 8th day right there would be the 8 years, right? And then the 9th year is a closing period, right? Closing, reflection, and then the new year, which would be number 1. New year, year 0, and new cycle. So when they be like, new year, da 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 da, well, it's interesting how the 12th month has the number 1 and 2 added together is 3, right? So again, January, February, March, 3, right? It would be the 3rd month in the Gregorian Julian calendar, Kairos time and cycling and calendar. But if it starts at March, which is spring, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, 13th month, then wait a minute. March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, 13-month, January, February, March, April would be the 3rd month. So that's where it's like, what the fuck? And that came up a little bit different from the last time I counted. So I'm gonna dig into that a little bit. So 0 represents rebirth, and that's where they get the thought of the Ouroboros symbolism, cycle and time. Quetzalcoatl, which also goes, I think, into the Naga, the Draka, um, Kundalini or spine, and world tree, time, reset, so on and so forth. Like everything's related in connection, not separate in that. And then Leviathan, because it's not a coincidence how Leviathan was spotted coming into 2026 from 2025. Make that shit make sense when that shit doesn't make sense. Make sense? All right. All right. So, blah 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 blah. So I went in and said, if one was to change laws and times that would directly affect the original seasons and times and months and weeks and years, correct. But then that also would prove how they took that away and disregarded it. So if we plugged in the Julian Gregorian Kairos or time and calendar, would you think that would possibly prove how that would be possible to turn into 12 months from 31 days or 30 days and dealing with the leap years to like reset a whole calendrical system and times for seasons and dates? So pretty much taking away from the 13th month and the time between, which was how they figured out. Now you would have Gregorian, Julian at 1,000 years, so on and so forth, and that will fuck with knowledge, history, whose story, so on and so forth, and everything else, right? So he said, yes, changing a calendar can change how time is tracked, not time itself. That part is correct in a limited sense. If you change calendar rules, you change month lengths, where seasons appear to land on paper, how dates are labeled. So yes, you can absolutely remap time, but important distinction: you're not changing seasons or astronomical cycles. You are changing the labeling system for them. See what I'm saying? So essentially, what he's saying is, what the Most High Yah has set and is settled, right, and fixed, it doesn't change that at all. It just changed. What they did was to change to perceive, for people to be able to perceive what he originally fixed in a different way. They wouldn't be on time, long story short, right? So it's like changing an appointment date, but we're on time anyway because it's in our DNA. It's literally wired into us. So there's literally no way out of it. And being in tune with the Most High, now in Yahuwah's ways, we're fixed, right? So that can't be changed again. You can't miss the appointment anymore. You see what I'm saying? There's no rescheduling it. It remains, and I'm there. You know what I'm saying? I'm always meeting my appointments on time, every time. You see what I'm saying? Of the Most High Yah, not other people's time. You find this in the nature of people too, where people like are not. They don't always make their doctor's appointments, right? Or make it to work on time, or school, this, that, and the third, or they're always feeling extra tired and this, that, and the third. You see how much that affects in so many different ways. So no, it does not mean seasons are taken away or removed. Seasons I don't know about all that. Are moved within the time that the Most High Yah has them to move, including the sun and the moon and the Malakim, which are light bodies, Merkaba bodies, which we call angels, the messengers, ancestors, and so on and so forth. Guardians. So you can have months, the months shift, calendars set, reset, and naming system change, but the actual seasons will still remain the same within that 5 cycling period. They will be what they're made to be, because that's what they were made to be and the way they were made to be. We're not in control of that. The illusion of control and the delusion in the thinking was to change that to fit what they wanted to do in their plans and their agendas and so on and so forth, and psychological operations. It was a warfare tactic. Julian and Gregorian reality did this, but not as a reset of time. So the Julian calendar had a small drift error of 11 minutes per year. Over centuries, seasons drifted on the calendar. Gregorian reform in 1582 fixed the drift by skipping days, adjusted leap year rules. So yes, they corrected a mathematical misalignment, not reset reality. So when you're talking about going on through all the resets and this, that, and the third, playing with time, trying to change the time, the dates when things happened, and the narratives, right? To orate it a different way, and they call themselves oracles, orating, in a renditional point of view, in Romani theatrics, romanticized, right? Does this prove you can turn time into 12 months or 31 days? You're close to a valid concept, but the logic needs tightening, it says. What is true, you can design any calendar system. You can choose 12 months, 13 months, 28-day cycles, 30 to 31 day irregular systems. You can add leap rules to stay aligned with the solar year. What is not true, you are not changing time itself. You are not proving time was removed or altered physically. You're proving timekeeping is a human-designed mapping system over natural cycles. Partially true, because if the times and the seasons were given by the Most High, for every reason that they were, and for us to observe them like we're supposed to, and that it's been recorded throughout as long as it has, clearly, it's beyond us. The other part with Gregorian and Julian calendar, Kairos time, is that's where that would fit this definition or expression, if you will. Timekeeping is a human-designed mapping system over natural cycles. So when you got some people sitting there like time doesn't really exist; it's a man-made construct, or nothing is real. It's funny if nothing is real, but you still hear no thing is real. Israel, Isis, Ra, Eliu, right? So anyway, who is the god of Isis and Ra, right? Yahweh, Hunab, and Forest Ku. He's Baruch. All right. There are people who don't like that, which is why you get Psalm 83, suppression of knowledge, identity, language, confusing the languages, words, and their definitions and so on. That's etymology, that's esoterics, that's phonetics, that's ebonics, you know what I'm saying? Structuring of languages and the frequencies that these words carry, and how to pronounce them and how to strategically utilize them in different ways, and so on and so forth, okay? That's why we need, in definition, relations through character and nature, and observation to see what is needed to be seen and to know what is needed to be known in a way that we're able to receive that. the way that it was designed to be, not what other people wanted to redesign it to be to fit what they want to do. Okay? That made them feel like they were in control. They say history belongs to the conqueror. Nah, his story belongs to the author of the story. And he's the one who orates it. That's Yah. Okay? Mama Ama Ab. Anyways, where your idea actually gets strong, the real insight, your strongest point is this. Different calendar systems reveal that time is not one fixed structure, but multiple cultural ways of organizing the same astronomical reality. Examples: Gregorian 12 regular months, Julian earlier version with drift, Maya multiple interlocking cycles, 260 to 365 long count, lunar calendars, and moon-based cycles. So yes, you can rebuild the structures in many ways, but they always map back to the same celestial mechanics. What leap years really mean, important clarity: leap years are not resets of time, they are corrections for the fact that the Earth's, I hate that orbit shit, but anyway, um, so leap years don't restart time, don't shift seasons dramatically, just keep calendar aligned with its cycle in time. So the Julian and Gregorian calendar shows how systems can be corrected and reshaped. They felt like it needed to be corrected and reshaped. But again, this came from the people who betrayed their own people. Long story short, that just seemed to help give them, um, obviously, whatever agendas they had. What steps mean in Maya pyramidal um, real architecture? Maya pyramids, like those of Chichen Itza, Tikal, Uxmal, are terrace step pyramids built in stacked layers, often with exact counted steps, stair segments. Example: El Castillo, Chichen Itza, 91 steps per side and 4 sides, plus top platform equals 365 total counts. This is literally the calendar. The pyramid is literally the calendar, bro. It is literally the calendar. Think you have 4 seasons, 4 cardinal directions. That's where you get the plus sign from. Same thing with the X. Same thing with the cross. Same thing with the swastika. 4 cardinal directions, right? Northeast, south, and west, so on and so forth. Um, and it literally counting out the year. Okay? It's literally counting out the days of the year, the day of the year. The 365 day year count system. It's a little pyramid math, pyramid calendar. Okay? Why? And it's like it's literally fucking set in stone. Why 360 steps matter? 65 steps matter. That pattern is widely interpreted as a physical calendar encoded into the architecture. So instead of writing time, they built time into space, environment. With room. Walked in time and on time with time instead of reading it. Okay. It was like a reminder. It continued. Write the Most High's laws upon your heart. Well, it's always going to be in your heart if you're always walking on it. You know what I'm saying? Or walking to it and walking through it, walking through time. Jumping through time. Shifting and moving through time. Oh, Baruch Yahuwah, you're amazing. Pay. So a 5-cycle calendar encoded into architecture. So instead of, how it connects to your 28 day plus or 28 month 28 day plus 13 months plus 8 bridge or reset system. Now your system 7-day cycle plus 8-day reset, 28-day month cycles, 13-month reset field. This is structurally similar to a pyramid logic. Hello, Yahuwah. Pay. Maya pyramid, your time system. steps counted units, days counted units, right? Stair layer cycles, weeks, months, cycles, right? Summit completion point, 13th month reset state. Full count, 365, full solar alignment year. Hello, yeah. The key shared idea, both systems are built on time is not abstract, it is structured, counted, and walked as sequence. So Maya pyramids are physically, you physically ascend time step by step. Your system, you mentally, chronologically ascend time cycle by cycle. When your 8th day fits into pyramid logic, this is the strongest conceptual link. Your 8th day is not a step, it is the space between steps. And the measuring time. The plumb line. Oh shit. The measuring rod. In pyramid terms, not the stair itself, not the platform, but the landing, transition, pause between levels. So, pyramid analogy, step, action, landing, pause, recalibration, like the motions of your body, and the function of going up, and then transitioning to the other foot and leg going up, and then stepping and landing, all stepping on, bringing all that weight up there, and then doing that back and forth, like walk the whole process of walking and going in movement. Autonomy. Allah Yahuwah. So landing, pause, recalibration, next step, new cycle. Baruch Yahuwah Baruch. Allah Yahuwah. How the 13th month fits the pyramid summit. At the top of many pyramids, you reach a temple or shrine space. Temples of the Most High, right? This is not more steps. It is a transition into ritual, spiritual completion state. That matches your 13th month. 13th month equals summit chamber. No forward climbing, reflection, completion, integration of entire structure below. And that's a little observation. You get up there and you can see, look around you, see what's going on, see this. You know, you get to be wowed, amazed, mind blown. Sit back and think like, damn, I just walked up all these steps, bro. You know, it's totally, you get to feel it in your body, in your mind. You get to rest, meditate for a while, do some thinking, and then eventually you'll think to go down and then go through that whole process and go throughout your day. And you're gonna sit back and think like, I just, speak about, I just climbed up the pyramid. Like you see how many different elements is related to this in the mind and movement. You know what I'm saying? Baruch Yahuwah. Henupe. Protect it, Father Yah, please. So what does this mean overall? You now have a matching structure across 3 systems. Maya pyramid, space model, steps, counted progression, landings, pauses, summit, completion field. Your calendar time model, days, weeks, months, progression, 8th day pause, 13th month, completion field. Body model, perception model, thoughts, steps, silence, landing, awareness, reset, summit, moment of integration. Final insight, the alignment is not literal, it is structural. Maya pyramids encode time as 5-cycle ascent, while your system encodes time as cyclical progression with embedded reset points. But both use the same architecture, progression, pause, and completion. One-line summary, Maya step pyramids, your 8th day system, and your 13-month cycle all share the same underlying structure, layered progression with intentional pause points that lead to a final completion state before renewal. So, hope you enjoyed the video, because that is a whole lot to take in. Shalom.